Welcome to the post-trade deadline edition of the Mitch'nandMauck'n podcast. I'm Mitchell. With me as always, is Tyrell, and we got a big show tonight. There was activity galore throughout the day in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals, of course, the final trade deadline of the John Mozeliak era, and once again, Mo, following his mission, his MO, so to speak, of his entire tenure, did just enough. Just enough. That should
Yes.
probably go inside his red jacket someday. Let's get right into our top of the first. Tyrell, let's grade the moves. The Cardinals moved Ryan Helsley. They moved Phil Maton. They moved Steven Matz. And that was it. They did not move a position player, surprisingly. Katie
Yeah.
Wu quoted in the Atlantic today, quoted Mozeliak. We got hit a lot on our left-handed hitters, but we were not motivated to move players that we had under control unless we were, to put it mildly, blown away. And we just weren't. You can also throw Jojo Romero into that group there. Ty, what are your thoughts on the Cardinals?
I'm okay with the moves. I'm fine, but you can clearly tell this was Chaim Bloom making these moves. John Mozeliak, this is not a his moves. All these prospects we got, especially Blaze Jordan come back, who Bloom was the general manager when he drafted him. I love that. I love that comeback. I liked what we got for Helsley. I wish we'd have got a little bit closer to some major league ready talent, but it is what it is. We got their number 8 overall prospect out of 20-year-old, a right-handed starting pitcher with swing and miss stuff, and a relief pitcher also with swing and miss stuff. So I'm with it. Projected to be elite. This guy's got, when they project everything out, he's going to be a 50. His arms are 60, his power's a 60, hitting's a 50. I think the only thing he's got a 40 in his speed, but I think we got enough of that with Victor Scott. So I think we'll be okay. I'm kind of excited about that. I don't want to get too excited because, I mean, 8th number all prospect in Major League Baseball doesn't really mean much to me anymore after watching just prospect after prospect after prospect hit the proverbial swan dive into a pool. That's a foreshadowing right there. Other than that, I want to touch on that quote a little bit. We were not blown away by any offers. I'm sorry. If I'm going out as the general manager, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. I'm not going to sit on my hands and wait for teams to offer me things. I'm going to go out there and actively make this team better because I at least minimum want to get into the playoffs. I hope that Bloom is much, much better at his messaging than Mo is. Mozeliak has the last 4 to 5 years, his messaging has been so off, and this bill of goods they have sold us, the fans are passionate still. We're not at the ballpark because we're mad at the Cardinals. We're mad at the front office and we're mad at ownership. The team we are still supporting and want to support and are going to support. Hell, I'm coming to St. Louis just to watch a game this year. I've been to 2 of them out here. I come every year. I am a loyal fan. I want this organization to win. But this messaging and this bill of goods they sold us has been such BS for so long that's why we've left. That's why Busch Stadium's empty, and it's what's going to continue to be empty. I'm sorry. What did you do? You had 3 guys. I know I didn't want to trade Donnie either, but Newbar has not lived up to any of his expectations that he brought in that half a season, which I knew half a season it was not going to be that amazing anyway, but apparently the organization thought he was going to be. And we had offers out the wazoo for better players that have went on to be perennial all-stars, but we did not do it because we thought Lars Nootbaar was going to be a great player. Injury-prone, basic, run-of-the-mill left-handed hitter. Should have been traded at his peak to get this organization back on its feet. Would have been a little bit better this year had he been gone. Sorry, I had to go on a rant there.
Look at the haul back. Jesus Baez is probably the crown jewel, so to speak, in it. The Mets 8 prospect. He probably long-term projects out to be a third baseman, probably not MLB ready until 27 or 28. The other 2 guys, they got both right-handed pitchers. The guys they got for Phil Maton, Mason Molina and Skylar Hales, the 25th and 26th best prospects out of the Rangers organization. Hales throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, strikeout, swing and miss stuff. That's definitely a huge upgrade. The guy I'm, of course, most excited about is Jordan. We were both baseball card collectors, and there for a hot minute, Blaze was one of the top guys you could collect. Everybody, kind of prospecting for gold. It's a lottery ticket for Steven Matz. And, you look at Cardinals X, Cardinals Twitter, people are like, that's all we get for Steven Matz? You're basically trading a guy who is a swing guy relief pitcher for a lotto ticket with 30 home runs if he plays out. If he doesn't,
first rounder in 2020.
Yeah, he was the first round pick of the Red Sox, 20th pick overall. If you're wrong, it was Steven Matz.
It was Steven Matz, yeah.
But it's not like they made a huge move there. What letter grade would you give it? To me, it's a typical Mo free agents or trade deadline where nobody's happy. So I give it a C plus.
Yeah, I was gonna say C plus B minus. Like the returns are better than expected that I would get for Matz, especially did not see that coming. 2 pitchers for Mayton on a $2 million salary. That's a good return. The Helsley, all right, I'm okay with it. Like I said, I'd like a little bit closer to Major League ready, but this team isn't going to compete until 28 now anyway, so what's the big deal? All this deadline really tells me is these moves are going to happen in the offseason.
Right. With Heimblum taking over, you expect a full clearinghouse, and that's the way it's kind of looking. It was, let's hold, let's see what we get. And the message we've always taught us is probably going to be 27 before we compete. Now it's looking like 28. It's going further and further down the line here from competitive baseball. And we'll talk about this at some point with the attendance. It's going to be bad. Schools are going to open here in about 3 weeks. What's a Tuesday night in September going to look like? We're a team that's 10 games out.
Like the Florida Marlins looked in 1995. No, this was the year they won the series. Yeah, after that sell-off and stuff.
When they sold off everybody.
Yeah. It's going to look like that. You got 5 people in the stands.
Oof. Yeah, it's going to be ugly. And those day games are going to be worse.
Mm.
But gaslight us again, Bill DeWitt third, on why, go chuckle when there's nobody in the stands. Let's move to the top of the second around the MLB. Today was insane as far as trade deadlines go. If you've got the MLB app, about every 5 minutes you're getting a push notification. This guy was moved. This guy was moved. It was one of the more active ones that I can remember in a while. We're not going to hit on them all. There was a ton. But Tyrell, go ahead and just briefly, who do you think won the deadline?
I think the New York Mets won. They had holes that need to be filling, and I think they did a good job filling them. Their back into their bullpen is scary. With Diaz as your closer, you got Helsley, you added Gregory Soto, you got Tyler Rogers, you filled your hole in center field with Cedric Mullins, who is a great left-handed hitting center fielder. I think they did a wonderful job on that. So to me, New York Mets are your winner, especially after selling off like they did in that huge payroll they have. I'm kind of worried about the Mets now.
My runner-up was Seattle. They did a ton, and they added a bunch of stuff. This one you haven't seen a lot in the national media talking about. Give me the Kansas City Royals. What? Yes. Our neighbors to the west, they're 3 games out of the last wild card. Very similar to St. Louis. Similar payroll, similar situation. But they went out. They got Reynold Grichuk because they needed somebody who can hit left-handed pitching. And we knew, if anything else, Grichuk can still hit left-handers. Then, today, left trade for Bailey Falter, a solid left-hander to shore up the rotation. And then add Mike Yastrzemski from San Francisco. 3 smaller moves that aren't grabbing a lot of headlines. I understand that. But they're telling their fan base, hey, at least we're trying. We're going to go out and try to at least snag a wild card, get us in the playoffs. Hope. That's all you want as a baseball fan, as a fan of anything. Hope. Cardinal fan, we don't have any. But the Royals go out and say, hey, we've got a few holes. Let's go ahead and fill them. Let's see what happens. They were all minor moves, not a lot of big prospects as I'm looking down the transaction thing, going either way. But they were just enough to kind of at least say, let's get stable and let's see what happens. Let's play baseball.
I mean, that was the puzzle piece of the 2011 World Series Cardinals moves. You traded for Mark Yastrzemski. I can't even remember that dude's last name. Edwin Jackson, who did wonderful. I mean, Octavio Dotel, you just needed to get a little bit solid. So I think it's a solid couple moves for the Royals.
And then, of course, the last one I want to hit on, San Diego going to get Mason Miller. They go for number 4 prospect in baseball to go get that guy. And we'll talk about it here later in the show, the road trip coming up to San Diego. It's going to be ugly. It is going to be an ugly, 6-7 days for the Cardinals. As we kind of head to the top of the third with all the talk around, guys coming in, guys coming out, prospects, Ty, is there hope on the way? Like, I know you keep saying
No.
27 is when they're going to compete, maybe 28. Looking at the top 30 prospects right now the Cardinals have, the projection for most of them is, in 27, 28 for a lot of these guys. When you look at the pitching, man, it is beat up. Matthews is hurt, number 2 prospect. Roby just got hurt, number 7 prospect. Tinkins is never healthy. Cooper Herberge, hurt. Henderson, don't know a ton about. Like, there's just not a lot of help coming next year. Other than JJ, maybe.
That's the only one person I see on the horizon that I'm even remotely interested in. Now, I'm interested in all the pitchers. I'm still in on Tinkins. I know he's the new Alex Reyes, but I'm still in on Tinkins. I want to see that guy in a Cardinal uniform dominate a baseball game for 4 innings because that's all he's going to do, because he's just like Sonny Gray, going to pitch great for 4 innings and then shut it down because his arm can't handle it anymore. I don't see it coming. I think potentially what's going to happen is we're going to take some money off the books and we're going to start developing more bats and sign pitching. I don't think we're going to be pitching develop anymore, or as much as we used to be. I think it's going to be more position players, because I mean, look at the gluttonous of stuff we have right now as outfielders and infielders and catchers. Oh my goodness. Why didn't you move a catcher? We have 4 of them coming up. 3 of them are great. And we have 4 of them on our roster right now in the big leagues.
Out of
Like,
the
why?
top 5 prospects the Cardinals have, 3 of them are catchers. Leonardo Bardal, Ronel Rodriguez, and Jimmy Crooks. 3 of the top 5. Crooks is supposed to be here at the tail end of this year, Bardal next year, and Rodriguez is looking 29-30. That's a long time out, but still, your 3 best prospects, position-wise, outside of JJ, are all catchers. Somebody's going to have to move spots. Knowing this organization, they'll probably all be on the roster at the same time. They'll have 8 catchers, and Wilson Contreras will be playing shortstop at that point.
I want to ask this to like every other baseball team fan out there. Does your team also overrate your prospects to this degree? We have been sold this, our prospects are coming, they're going to be great, and blah. So often. It's a legit question because I don't know. That's all I feel like we're sold anymore.
I know Walt Jock is your favorite GM of all time. Your second favorite is Steve Phillips. He was on one of the MLB shows. He was on one of the MLB shows this afternoon, and this was the exact topic: do GMs overvalue their own prospects? He never did as the Mets GM, but if you listen to Steve Phillips talk on his morning show on MLB Network Radio, Steve Phillips has never once made a mistake.
Ever. Greatest GM in Mets history.
Still paying Bobby Bonilla.
How many more years does that have?
5 or 6. I think maybe till 2030.
That's ridiculous.
Well, as you know, as we're going to kind of go off the sidetrack here, the story behind that was the Wilpons who owned the Mets were going to save money. They reinvested that money with Bernie Madoff, and they were going to make money on that money. So Steve Phillips likes to call himself the godfather of deferred money. Is that you see the Dodgers doing left and right now. Phillips has never once made a mistake as a GM. Just listen to the show and you'll hear it.
I don't listen to the morning show anymore. I just can't. Him and Eduardo Perez just hurt me. I can't do it anymore.
Well, it's also like 4 a.m. out there when they're on.
That is true. It is. It's real early in the morning.
Nobody wants to listen to Steve Phillips that early. As we kind of, look at the prospects overall, the younger guys are up. We're now waiting for like the next wave coming. The initial wave was Lars and Walker and Mason Wynn and Ivan Herrera. Gorman. Some of those guys have got to stick. Like, you have to produce major league talent at some point. The wave prior to them was your Tyler O'Neills and your Randall Grichuk's, and they bombed out absolutely completely. At some point,
Harrison Bader,
who got traded again today, who's now becoming kind of a journeyman guy. And we thought the outfield of O'Neill and Bader and Grichuk were going to last 10 years, and they lasted a couple, maybe 2. And Bader his glove still plays, but offensively he never turned out to what they thought he would be, despite the fact the Cardinals that for 2 seasons pimped him out as the face of the franchise because he's a good-looking kid who sold T-shirts but hit 240. They wanted him to be
speed sells
so bad. As we kind of talk about failed prospects in the top of the 4th, Tyrell, let me tell you the story of a man named John Gall. John Gall was a huge prospect for the Cardinals, their number 1 prospect in 2005. A bronze medal with Team USA. This dude at one point had 100 RBIs in Memphis, knocking the bejesus out of the ball. Problem was with John Gall, he was playing third base, first base, and the outfield in 2005 and 2006 in St. Louis.
Good luck, buddy.
Hard to break through when you got guys named Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols, even Reggie Sanders, or perhaps even, Larry Walker. He did end up hitting one home run in the show, which is one more home run than we hit combined. Won the bronze medal in 2008 with Beijing. I think he works for USA Baseball right now. But my story about John Gall is the valuation of prospects. For whatever reason, he was the one guy Walt Jocketty would never move. And then if you remember, like I said, we talked about the old Cardinals Talk forums. The day Derek Barton got traded for Mark Mulder, talking about prospects, that place burned to the ground. Derek Barton, you would have thought he was Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols, and Stan Musial all rolled into one. He was the best prospect they had developed at the time. He was a number one draft pick for Mark Mulder. And of course, hindsight being 2020, Mulder was washed by the time he got to St. Louis. Had a bum shoulder, but just the over-evaluation of prospects overall. We both kind of from the same school, GM-wise. I'll trade a minor leaguer for a proven big league player every single day.
All day, every day.
Barton ended up starting for the A's for a year or two. I think was kind of DFA'd 2 or 3 times in his career, so never really panned out. But it goes back to your opinion, your point of holding on to prospects. For what? Go get proven big league talent. The back of the baseball card does not lie. Everybody wants a cheap guy who's either going to throw 200 innings or hit 40 home runs. And they don't want to be the guy who they're talking about on a podcast, you gave away X, Y, Z. And it goes back
but
to
that's what his MO's been, though. Gives away X, Y, and Z.
But you look even the July 31st, 2000 trade deadline, the Cardinals needed a backup catcher. San Diego was interested in, they ended up trading for Carlos Hernandez from the Padres. San Diego had 2 names on their list. One was a guy named Brian Johnson, and the other was a guy named by the name of Albert Pujols. They ended up moving Pujols from one of the Class A's to a different one just to get away from the Padres scouts. Could you imagine what the legacy would have been had Albert Pujols, who at the time was a low prospect, no one really thought a lot of, but it was starting to, make a little noise, had been traded for Carlos Hernandez?
I don't even want to think about that. Like, so much of my pivotal days would have been gone, and I would never have seen the great baseball that I got to see, or an amazing right-handed hitter, the best right-handed hitter of this generation, or our generation, whatever you want to call it. You would have never got to see that. And watch him play the words on the bat and then come back and hit a 700 home run with us. I don't know what I don't want to think about missing out on that type of excitement and that enjoyable baseball experience.
That's funny that you think you can remember your 20s now.
It's true. I don't know how I even think that.
All right, top of the 5th here. We have our first ever guest. Good friend of the show, Matt Michaels, joins us. We love Matt, even though we are Cardinal fans, and he is a Cubs fan. On July 28th, the baseball world lost Ryne Sandberg, one of the better players of our generation. So we thought it'd be cool to bring Matt on, diehard Cubby fan, to talk about Mr. Sandberg and kind of what he meant to the Cubs fan, and kind of talk about those glory days between the Cardinals, Cubs, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It kind of hit Cubs fans like a gut punch, and I am of the time frame where some of my childhood years where I would have just started to realize maybe who the players were on the field playing baseball, and Sandberg was one of them. This would have been after his retirement or his unretirement, and he was playing for the Cubs for a couple of seasons when he came back to the game. And so that's where I had my first exposure to him, and it was well beyond the years in which he was, the best player on the field at times, but he always carried himself with such a confidence. You knew that the glove would be really good at a position at second base that still is, I think, a premium position in terms of having the right glove. And you knew that he had the respect of all of his teammates, and that Cubs fans universally loved him. And then the more that I grew up and learned about him, and about, again, how he carried himself in the clubhouse, how he was quiet but a leader in terms of being on the field, the different things that he did that nobody had done before him. And it helped me appreciate his place in the game. And so when we got the news on Monday, I actually happened to be driving from a softball game and turned on the radio and got scratchy Cubs broadcast. And I could tell that they were sad. And I thought, well, is it like an announcement that Sandberg had gone into hospice or something? Because he had made some recent announcements saying that he wanted to prioritize spending time with his family, and it was the announcement that he passed. And it just was so sad. And Cubs fans that I know that are of my generation were equally struck with just, it's a shame that even a day that you knew was probably coming after his bout with cancer, you still hated the news and thought this is a terrible, terrible day for someone who was so great and so beloved by generations, maybe even some that didn't even get to really see him play. And I think that's the impact that he had on the Cubs, and taking a team that had not been to the playoffs in over 30 years and being one of the centerpieces of that team, that 1984 season with the Sandberg game. I mean, I think about Hall of Famers, and there are very few of them in the Baseball Hall of Fame that have their own game named after them. You can probably list it on one hand, and he's one of them, because it set the track for that season, it set the track for his career, and made him really on the superstar trajectory that he was destined, I guess, to take. That's what made him the name and the face of what the Cubs would be there for some heady years in the late 80s.
First of all, this is the Cardinals podcast, so we refer to that as the Willie McGee game.
Of course you do.
That is referencing the 1984 game where Sandberg took Bruce Sutter deep, I believe, in the 9th and 10th inning to win the national broadcast on NBC. He was the first second baseman to ever hit 40 home runs, and back-to-back years hitting 30 or more, which is insane at a time when second base shortstop during the 80s and 90s were not really a power premium position, as it became later in the 90s, and now everybody can kind of hit 40 bombs from each spot. Career fielding percentage 989, 10-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glove, Silver Slugger Award winner, and like you mentioned, the 1984 MVP. We really got to kind of looking at his legacy and what he means to Cubs fans. Are they wearing patches for Sandberg? I haven't seen a lot of anything other than trade deadline stuff kind of moving the last couple of days.
I'm pretty sure that they're doing, the standard, and they would. I mean, they were able to honor Sandberg in just recent years, in the past 2 or 3, if my memory serves me, with his own statue outside of Wrigley Field. And they've been doing that increasingly for numbers of Cubs, but one who absolutely deserves it is Sandberg. I mean, he scored 100 runs 7 times, and he hit 25 home runs or more 6 times in his career, and 7 times the Silver Slugger for being the best power hitter at his position. I mean, you think about what second basemen were, like you said, Mitchell, it was a defensive position. This guy doesn't have to hit. He's going to bat 7th, 8th, or 9th in the lineup. And Sandberg was a unicorn. He could have played anywhere on the field. He could have played shortstop, but second base is really where he came up and was best. And it's just so interesting because I read something from John Greenberg at The Athletic about Darwin Barney, who was a later Cubs shortstop eventually, when he was blocked. I believe it was after the Javi Baez trade, maybe somewhere in the minors, or Baez was called up and Barney was playing shortstop, and Sandberg was his minor league manager. And he went to Darwin Barney and said, we're going to work at second base every single day now. You're going to be shortstop for this team, but we're going to work. And he worked at second base. And what did Darwin Barney end up becoming? A Gold Glove second baseman one season in the major leagues. I think that speaks as well to the testament of the type of person that Sandberg was amongst the baseball community, and also just how good the guy was at his job, because he could teach someone who had to learn the position pretty much from scratch how to do it, who eventually became a big leaguer and a Gold Glover one season in the bigs himself, and Barney. I thought that story, which I'd never heard before, was really illuminating. And that doesn't even account for the fact that, he played at the premium defensive position, was a premium defender, and did things that no second baseman. He had the major league record for home runs by a second baseman for a long, long time in terms of a career mark. And he just was a unicorn. He was one of one in terms of his spot in the time he played baseball and really in the history of the game.
When you look at maybe the top 5 second basemen of all time, and Tyler, I'll take your opinion on this too. Where do you put Ryne Sandberg in that top 5 all-time second baseman? Is he a top 3 guy? Is he your number 1?
Well, I mean, would he be my number 1? Sure, why not? I mean, he hit 285. I think I'm looking at the numbers right now, so I'm cheating. But 10 times an All-Star, 9 times a Gold Glover, a WAR of 68, if you believe in wins above replacement. He was 3 times top 5 in the MVP voting. Listen, I don't think that you're going to say, if you just put the numbers up one next to the other, that Sandberg is going to be absolutely number 1 with a bullet on anybody's all-time list. But To put him in the top 5 and at the time that he was playing, I think would be completely fair, because he was a guy who did all the things you wanted to do on the field. And the only thing you could hold as a knock against him was, well, he didn't win championships and didn't go to the World Series, and all that stuff is true. But I don't feel like, in terms of valuation of baseball careers, we should be looking at that and saying that's the be all and end all. Look at the guy's stats, hold him up to any comparable time in history, or try to take his era and move it to another, and he'd have played anywhere. I mean, he stole 340 bases. He's one of 7 players to ever hit 280 home runs or more. He just barely did 280, and steal 340 bases or more. That guy is a top 5 player at his position all time, I think, if you're able to pull something like that off. And Sandberg was able to do it.
Matt, we know you got to run. We appreciate you coming on the show today. Tyrell and I will be back with the top of the 6th. Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for coming, man.
Top of the 6th. Let's talk about the road trip out west. Man, Tyrell's going to get ugly. You got 3 against the Padres, who are playing good baseball now, and then 3 against the mammoth out there, the Dodgers. They may not win a game out here. The Dodgers, of course, being who they are, and then San Diego picked up Mason Miller, huge acquisition for them. They're playing fired up. Coming off 2 losses to the Marlins, where they didn't score a single run again.
I think you're going to go 1-5. I think the rest of the way through this, you're going to be Rockies level bad. You've got such a young core of guys that don't hit. I mean, they're coming around. You're trying to give them their runway, but I don't see it. So I'm thinking 1-5. Like you said, the behemoth of the Dodgers, Padres, they're going for it. AJ Preller, you talk about a GM I want, sells the number 4 prospect. That's unheard of. You don't see those type of guys moved. So I don't. Yeah. Next year, exactly. That's a walk jockey approach.
But go and grab the ring now. You play for now, and you worry about next year. They're 55 and 55. 50, that's 110. You got 52 games left. Can they go 26 and 26 and make it 500? Looking at the schedule, only 5 teams with really no playoff aspirations here: Colorado, Miami,
Gays,
Pittsburgh, Oakland, Vegas, Sacramento, Gays, San Francisco. Everybody else, Seattle, went all in. Love that. Cincinnati, Cubs, Yankees, of course.
With the way Sonny's been pitching, you still have Miles Michaelis in the starting rotation. Libby, he started pitching faster, or he got angry and started throwing harder, just like he did when I was at the D-backs games. Once he started throwing harder, you're like, holy crap, look at this. He guys can actually pitch, because nobody else wants him. Why would you?
How was he still on the roster?
Other than these last 2 games? Is he an innings eater anymore?
But for
the Braves could have. I mean, they took a flyer on Eric Fetty.
No. You could have taken a flyer on
Dude, that's a decimated staff there.
That went real well, by the way.
Yeah. What do you said about Cincinnati? I was shocked about that in division trade. O'Neal Cruz going to the Reds? Like, was it Ke'Bryan Hayes? I thought it was O'Neal Cruz went. Oh, man.
It was Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Even Ke'Bryan Hayes was a prospect that was highly touted, brought out, gonna just whip ass and take names, and here they are, the Pirates, who don't give up on you until you want to make money. They give up on him early.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of inter-division trades, mostly, at least not in the Central. But my question for you is here, as we kind of finish up the preview of the road trip. It's let's say they magically get a lead, and it's probably going to be 2-1 because they're probably not going to score more than 2 runs at any time. Who's getting the ball in the 9th? Helsley's gone. Mayton's gone. Steven Matz, who could maybe finish a game for you, is gone. They called up Graceffo.
I think he's the only one. Unless you go to switch it back and forth, since Graceffo's younger, you go Graceffo one night, Jojo Romero the other night. But then you don't have a long reliever. You don't have a lefty specialist. So where are you going? I do not know. There's nobody. Zach Plesac.
I'll be interesting to see tomorrow when the roster moves come out, because they've got 2 open spots right now. Who those guys are and who's going to get the proverbial runway to close, because you're looking for next year at this point. Who can you get to close on the cheap? Now, of course, Ryan Helsley said all the right things. I would love to come back to St. Louis if the money works. Maybe. There's not unprecedented for it. The Yankees traded Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs. He helped the Cubs win a ring and then went back to the Yankees. So there's precedent of that sort of thing happening, but you got to have a lead to have a closer. It's just probably not something they're going to have to worry about a whole lot. I don't personally see the wheels falling off the bus and 100 losses at this point with 26 to go. but 75 wins is probably what's going to happen down the stretch here. Maybe
Can I cancel
win
my
another 15,
MLB
16,
subscription
20
now
ball
and get a
games
little bit of
the
money
rest of
back
the
so I
way.
don't
It's
have to
going to be
watch
an
these
ugly
games?
dog days and ugly fall. Oof. Well, the NFL did kick off tonight with the Hall of Fame game,
Yeah.
so it's almost
It's
football
not
season.
like
No
it
one's
was
going to be watching Cardinal
oh
baseball
my
anyway.
goodness, 15 years ago even now.
Sadly. Let's go to some fun stuff here. This was rough. We spent a lot of time at Bush too in college.
Bleachers.
You moved out.
I'm a bleachers
That's
guy
when
all the way.
Bush 3 kind of hit. What's your favorite seat at the new ballpark? Bleacher bum, huh? I am a poor teacher. I don't get to go out to the ball games a lot. But when we do, man, we're bougie.
Okay.
We go Commissioner's
I love
Box
that.
or we go Legends Club. I am an all-inclusive guy, through and through. I will go to one ball game a year, maybe two, and I will use one of the secondary ticket providers. We're not going to name them because they're not paying us yet. And we will sit, all you can eat, all you can drink. Amanda likes to bring up the point when she sits at the commissioner's box.
Well, when they were out here, the Cardinals were. We
sat
sat at the first base side, and that's where the away team sits. And I was 6 rows away from the field, right by the dugout. Those were some really excellent seats. The best I've sat in Bush 3 was third baseline on the field, and I got it through those second tier internet ticket providers. So I don't have to pay all those fees to that one place. No, that is so expensive. Like ridiculously
have you ever sat
expensive.
in a pool out in Arizona?
Like we looked into it for my birthday though.
In the comments?
No, and honestly, one of my favorite is not even a seat. And we sat out there in left field, not sat, we stood. There's a bar cart behind me, standing room only. I'd walk back, get a beer, come back, and I'm just watching the game back and forth. Was wonderful. The smells, the crowd, best seat. And like I said, not a bad seat. And it's really a straight on right to home plate. Really, there's not a bad seat in Bush 3 to me.
But it all depends on your level of comfort, level of how uppity you want to be. If you're going with the boys, sit in the bleachers, have some beers, or standing room only. Sometimes you just want to be at the ballpark. Like Ricky Horton tells us every time on the broadcast, you never have a bad time at Bush. My favorite memory though was probably before we got married. My best friend Ben and I went down. We did the brewery tour. I had a few cocktails there. Then went to the ball game, and that's kind of where I kind of don't remember from there. My bachelor party we spent at Bush 3.
I was sitting in the right field seats in the 2014 NLDS when Matt Adams hit the home run off Clayton Kershaw. Probably I've never felt cold chills like that in my life. That was probably one of the most exhilarating experiences I've ever been in. And I had my girlfriend, now wife, with me, whose ex-boyfriend was a Cubs fan. And I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to show you what playoff baseball is all about. Yeah, it did. Yep. We burned the Cubs jersey the next day.
That's what won her over. It wasn't your charm. Joke's on her now. Not a girl. Our random Cardinal of the week is
I'm going to go with the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers, Bob Uecker.
What'd you find doing your research?
Whose claim to fame hit a home run off Sandy Koufax.
Love the late Bob Uecker, probably one of the best voices in baseball. I got 3 for you. John Smoltz came over in the trade deadline.
He was
at one point. Fernando Valenzuela was a Cardinal in '99. Ended up getting DFA'd. Fernando Mania was long gone. He was toast by then. But if you remember the '99 Cardinals, I think you threw an inning and a half your junior year of high school for them because the '99 Cardinals could not pitch to save their lives. They were losing games 10-7. McGuire and Ray Langford were just hitting bomb after bomb. They couldn't get anybody out.
When? Don't remember that.
And my last one, Juan Gonzalez was a Cardinal. He was a Cardinal in spring training, I believe.
I have 2 others that I also chose.
Club, but yeah, Juan Gon was on the
Eric
spring
Davis.
roster.
I was so ecstatic to see him come to the Cardinals. Like, if this dude can get back to where he was at, he was been injury prone, had some problems. But like, if he can hit, he's the most electric player in baseball still because he had that speed. That bat was so quick. Really enjoyed him.
He and Barry Bonds there in the '90s were running neck and neck of the best player in baseball, but injuries and some other things kind of took their toll. He was a shell when he got to the Cardinals. He was kind of the caddy for J.D. Drew there for a couple of years. Who's your last one?
He did. I think I was looking him up. He played his last 16 games with the Cardinals. He's with them for 92 games. They only played in 16. I think it was 99-2000.
What year was that? No, because he was a Cub. Okay. He was a Cub.
I didn't write it down. I wrote down. It was underneath Eric Davis. I wrote that. So I think then it must have been. It was back at Matheny, so it would have been 02-03. Yep.
Gotcha. Joe Girardi. There's a far one. So we kind of round third, head for home. We had a lot of content tonight. The last question I posed from you is, where do we go from here as fans?
And
you know what?
no. And you
It's
can
not even
see that
fun to
they've
watch
lost their
anymore,
hope too.
especially now
The
when
way
there's no
they've been
hope.
playing, they've got no hope
Why
too.
am
They
I
knew
gonna
this
hate
was
watch it?
coming, that they were going to lose some of their teammates and friends. They knew this was coming. So I don't want to hate watch this. I don't want to watch this, to be honest with you. I'm going to turn it on, have in the background, just because I'm still a fan. I have to be. It's Cardinal yellow, red, and blue running my veins. I can't not, but I'm not going to enjoy watching this team. Just not going to.
It's no longer appointment television. Like I'm going to watch the game tonight. No, I'm not. Now baseball is going to be start to compete with college football, the NFL, later in the month of August.
I'm focusing more on my fantasy
It's going to
football
be an
league now.
afterthought for me, as they have been the last couple of years. It is that time of year. Maybe we'll get a
Dude, that would be a lot of fun.
podcast draft with our subscribers. That'd be kind of be fun when we do a live draft show one night. Next week's show, we're gonna have some more topics for you. We will probably go ahead and hit the short hop on Sunday night, talk about the San Diego series, and I'm going to set the over-under for you. 10 runs this series. You can take the over or the under. Oof. 10 runs, less than 10 runs in 3 days, that's rough. But I'm also going to take the under. We expect it to be epically ugly, and I cannot wait for the spin that we get from the front office.
Yeah, that's another reason why I can't probably watch Cardinal baseball, because Chip Carey and Brad Thompson, they just they try to sell hope and it's not there. Like, just stop it.
Stop. That's going to wrap up our show for tonight. Drop us a comment. Give us a follow. For Tyrell, I'm Mitchell. This has been the Mitch'n and Mauck'n podcast. We will see you next time.